That's
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. Aryavat,
Yeah.
Bindu's in again. It says he's
He's
joined.
unable to join.
He said he's joined, and there's a thing that came.
Okay, okay. Right. So do we start then in that case? Should we
We
wait?
can't see him though. I think let's give him a couple of minutes.
Okay, fine, fine. She's joined, is it? That's good.
Yeah, but we can't see him. His video is not on, maybe.
Uh-huh.
This is not working. I'm leaving for good. Don't. Join me now, he says.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
He's joined.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's fantastic.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry everyone for having to wait for so long, but we'll start right away. I welcome all of you to this live session on the issues of same-sex relationships and mental health. I would like to introduce our panelists first of all. Let me introduce Dr. Arvind Panchanadikar. He is a psychiatrist. He has completed his
Thank you.
MD from BJ Medical College and his DPM from University of Leeds, UK. He is a psychiatrist from Pune and he is also attached to KEM Hospital as well as Bharti Hospital in Pune. He has worked extensively in the NHS in UK and has worked in various departments, including child psychiatry, of course. So we welcome you, Dr. Panchanadikar.
Thank
It's
you.
our pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank
I
you.
would like to introduce Mr. Bindu Madhav Kire, who is, I think, an IT professional, but he has completely dedicated himself to the cause of the Pride community. Um, he has started working for the Pride community years back, and he has started the Samapathik Trust as well as the Bindu Queer Rights Foundation. Uh, Many years back, I think 2002, he has started the Samapathik Trust, and it's working for the health and advocacy of the LGBTQI A plus community. So we welcome you, sir. He has several books to his credit, almost 9 to 10 books to his credit, and he has been trying for advocacy through various media channels as well as through various parades. In fact, the first Pride parade in Pune was introduced by Mr. Kire. We owe it to him to start this whole movement in our city. So it's a pleasure to have you here with us, sir. And
Thank you.
Bhagyashree Palsure is a psychologist, and she has completed her master's in clinical psychology. She's also a Pride community member, and she's interested in cognitive and artificial intelligence. So cognitive psychology and artificial intelligence, the new budding field of psychology. So she'll be able to represent the specific issues of the community as well. I am Dr. Mridula Apte. I am from Vidula Psychological Consultancy, and I am a clinical psychologist. I have completed my MPhil from NIMHANS Bangalore and my PhD from Pune University. So, And Vidula Psychological Consultancy has been trying to work with awareness and sensitization of mental health across communities, across people. So here in this Pride Month, we would like to work and closely associate ourselves with working for this community. So it's our privilege to have everyone here with us today, and all the participants who have joined us, a warm welcome. So I was just thinking we'll start with a few basic questions and issues that come to our mind, and let's all talk about it, and then we can throw it open for questions. First, Dr. Panchaladikar, could you probably define a relationship, or tell us what it can encompass?
Yes, yeah. The thing is, the word relationship is used very loosely, and relationship can mean various things to various people. But when we see what a relationship is, there are certain qualities in a relationship that are very important. And here we are talking about relationship between two people. I'm not sort of constraining myself to same-sex relationships or a heterosexual relationship, but any relationship, or when we say that two people are in a relationship, what it means is that they have open communication amongst themselves. There is trust there. Despite being in a relationship, there is individuality that is maintained, and also they are able to give space to each other. There never dies a curiosity about the other person, and by that I mean that it's never taken for granted. In a relationship between two people, we also talk about intimacy, and I'm using the word intimacy and not using the word sex, because intimacy and sex are two entirely different things. So intimacy within a relationship, within a pair, and we saw that there is individuality, but let's not forget that even if there is individuality, there is teamwork. So whenever a couple is faced with problems, they work as a team, and the teamwork is very important. And the last thing is, whenever there is a conflict, the conflict resolution is taken care of by the team, by both of them together. So basically, a relationship is when two people are working together for happy, or rather, as we say, through thick and thin. So for happiness and for conflicts as well. So this basically is what a relationship is. And I think it's the same that carries on in same-sex relationships too.
Yeah, I think it makes so much sense to really normalize the whole process of relationships, whether it is same-sex or heteronormative relationships. It is finally relationships. Bhagyashree, would you like to comment specifically on what same-sex relationships means to you, or what you derive from it?
So the way sir mentioned right now, it's normal. Like, it's the intimacy that counts and not the person who you are with. Like, I can be with a trans person, I can be with a girl, but the intimacy and it's literally the same. It can be same when I am with a guy, and it's literally the same when I am with a girl. But the perspective that others look at us, so if I'm with a girl, I'm suddenly a lesbian, I belong to a certain community. And if I'm with a guy, okay, I'm normal and I'm suddenly straight. But for me, everything is literally the same. Like, I can be happy with a guy, with a girl. It's the intimacy and the communication that we have, the connection that we have that counts. So it doesn't, like, the second person doesn't really count till the time you have a connection. You call yourself theirs and they call you yours. So that's all it matters.
Very nice way of putting it, Bhagyashree, really. Mr. Khire, would you, would you like to give some instances or examples of how it is very similar to any heteronormative relationship?
Well, we need to understand that when Dr. Arvind Panchaladikar defined relationship, it is basically your conduct with the other party.
Correct.
And it basically talks of a frame of conduct and expectations from each other. Once we look at a code of conduct and a mutual understanding, whether it's an open relationship or a closed relationship, the understanding is that it's a sort of a contract between each other with responsibilities and duties to each other.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
once we have a contract between two people, it really does not matter whether they are, same sex or a heterosexual relationship. And so when I talk to same-sex couples, one of the questions that they always come up with is, we have no role models to go on. Are there any similar couples around us? How do we model our relationship? How do we model our expectations from each other? Is there any template for that? And frankly, there are no statistical surveys done in India as to how many same-sex couples are there. But rather than going into quantitative issues as to how many, the fact that even if there is a single couple, the couple has a right to cohabit, and their duties and responsibilities, as long as what they define is reasonably within the framework of the law or reasonably on par with the heterosexual framework provided, it should not matter. So I do come across many same-sex relationships where their issue is lack of role model as to what is to be followed, because in some aspects they do try to emulate the heterosexual paradigm, but at other, they are dealing with various stigmas where the heterosexual paradigm does not work at all. So their major issues that we see is they're trying to fit into a majoritarian framework and having their own private contract. And because there is a dissimilarity between the laws and the framework between the two, that it is a compatibility issue that is the focus.
Right, I agree with you, and that's why probably.
Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Panchanadikar.
Yeah,
Please continue.
what I would like to add is, as Mr. Khire correctly said, that there is a contract between the two people in a relationship, and I think the role models do exist. It's not that there are no role models, because when we say the relationship may be a heterosexual or a same sex, the relationship is the same. So when it is between the two people, the role model would be any other kind of normal heterosexual couple. The contract between two people is the same. It gets complicated when they have to deal with the community, they have to deal with the society, the families, and the constraints that are put by them. So the role model is like any other relationship, any other marriage, if we go that far. Am I right, Mr. Kirit?
Maybe.
To some extent, yes, but since most of the stereotypes are still prevalent amongst the heterosexual norm,
Yeah.
many of them try to model their relationship in that hierarchy, a patriarchal
Yes.
construct,
Yeah.
where they find it to be a problem.
Correct. Yeah.
Bhageshri, you were saying something. Would you like to comment?
The representation part, wherein, for example, the movie Ek Ladki Ko Dekha To Aisa Laga, it shows like, both of them are in a female role and both of them are girlish girls and they're in love. But then there are a lot of movies wherein, like, for example, I like the Shah Rukh Khan ki movie, but then I'm with a girl and the girl tries to be like a man, and then in like, in some ways they start like, though they have like, certain emotional needs and like, different needs than a guy, they start pretending and then they lose their self just to like, fit in a way that, I
Yeah.
need or like the society needs.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that brings us to the topic of gender stereotypes. No, we are all living in a patriarchal community with certain gender stereotypes, though of course we are evolving and we need to evolve and really get rid of this. But that's why there is a man and a woman in a relationship, or there's a dominant and submissive person in a relationship. These are typical mindsets, and the dominant person has to be a man. That kind of a setup we have come with. So probably even in same-sex relationships, that is getting emulated and followed. So probably that is what is happening. Any comments on the patriarchal part? And there are a lot of questions from people. Are these relationships more idealistic or more egalitarian? Because in reality there is no man and woman. They are two women or two men. So will it be a more egalitarian relationship in that sense? Will roles be less defined? Will they be more diffused? Will both people be equally responsible and accountable? So is it so idealistic, or can it be such an egalitarian relationship? Any comments on that?
Uh, it could be, but in reality, it is not, because both the parties have had a cultural influence of the past 25 years to
Correct.
deal with,
Correct.
and all of us, to some extent, directly or indirectly, have been affected by it. To add to the fact that since the culture has not given any specific role to each party, which means it depends entirely on the mutual understanding of the two parties. If both of them end up with a deadlock, with no one willing to give in on a particular issue, there are there so which is why I do feel that although ideally they are in every sense equal, it also leads to deadlock at times. For someone to step back itself becomes an issue, and especially, which is why I do feel that especially for two men to be in a relationship is in a sense far more challenging than a heterosexual or a lesbian relationship, because with two men in a patriarchal construct who have grown up in that milieu, they each of them have to unlearn their uh, patriarchal constructs to accommodate each other. Whereas for example, a lesbian relationship, both the girls have been brought up to the in an environment where they have been taught to compromise by their mother. As you are a girl, you are expected to take a step back all the time. Or even in heterosexual, in most relationships, it is the woman who has to sacrifice her career. It is she who has to look after the rearing of the children. So in many ways, some of these roles, biologically and otherwise culturally, have been sort of directly indirectly assigned and imposed on. For two men with none of these constructs there, it is a big challenge for them to unlearn this construct. So ideally, once they unlearn it, it could become an ideal construct,
It
but there's a lot of work involved there.
Yeah, it becomes a lot easier when the unlearning happens. But again, I think what's happening is even if it is a gay relationship between two men and both have been brought up as men, it depends on the strength of that relationship as to how they are going to carry it forward. And when we say that one partner is dominant and the other one is submissive, again, we are giving in to the societal constructs that in a heterosexual marriage, a man is a man and a woman is supposed to be submissive. Yes, but I think even those days are going slowly. It doesn't have to be the man is the man of the house, and so it could be like any other relationship again. Sorry, and I keep getting at normalizing same-sex relationships is because whatever happens in a heterosexual relationship, we see the same things happening in same-sex. But as Bindu Madhav said, that it is doubly difficult in same-sex relationships because of the society, the culture that we live in.
Also a great deal of stigma, I think, and therefore leading
Yes.
to a lot of confusion as to um,
Yeah.
is there a precedent at all? How do we, normally what happens between heterosexual couples is also the others pitch in to help out, or there are families that help to negotiate. But over here, if there is so much societal stigma, probably that will also be deterrent, and that can weaken the relationship as well
That can weaken the
because of the lack of
relationship.
acceptance. Yeah.
Yes, and also whatever help they might need as a couple, because of the stigma, that help may be either late to arise or may not arise at all, unless they
Yeah.
are unless they are out as a couple. What are your thoughts,
Hmm.
Mr. Khire? Sorry.
I think the major issue here is the energy that is spent in invisibilizing the relationship.
Yeah.
Because of the cultural restraints, they are forced to sort of go underground or semi underground, and knowingly, because in any stigma, it's not just LGBT, any kind of stigma, the natural and instinct of that person is that because it is a liability, it needs to be hidden, and you should not show it or display it or make others aware of it unless the risk is very low, or there is some advantage in showing it. I am perhaps using a negative example and should not probably it should not be directly related to an infection as such, but if you look at the HIV epidemic that we had 20 years ago, the moment a person found out he was living with HIV, he would go underground simply because being seen as an HIV positive person was a liability he could not deal with.
Correct.
The
Yeah.
only time he would actually admit to someone that he was living with HIV was when there was some advantage. For example, let's say the government created a scheme for pension for people living with HIV. Then she would probably come out of that quote unquote closet only to the extent of getting that benefit. Now, as long as there are no benefits associated and only liabilities associated with the same-sex relationship, they have no reason to actually come out, because they know the moment they step out, there's just too much to handle. Not only their sexuality, but also the fact that they are in a relationship is an additional stigma, and there are only so many stigmas that a person can deal with, and it is seen that if you are dealing with multiple stigmas, you tend to push most of them underground and keep only those where they have no other choice but to open up with.
Correct.
It
Yeah.
is the other counterpart to it, I feel, is that even the people around them, not only the community but even the straight community members, when dealing with people, relatives, friends who have this quote unquote stigma, tend to invisibilize that too. So they too may not be comfortable in presenting this couple publicly or even in private, because they themselves have their own issues to deal with when confronted with the stigma.
Correct.
So it
Yeah.
is the society who sort of pushes this kind of quote unquote stigmas underground, and the couples too do not find it very easy to come out. So now then it becomes a chicken and egg syndrome as to who is going to actually bring it out of the closet to sort of legitimize it. Should the couples take the step forward and bring it come to the limelight, hoping that others would understand them, or should the others legitimize this relationship so that the couples would have the courage to come out? And so there's no, it has to be both ways. It can't be just one sided all the time.
So as a community, unless we are, or as a society, unless we are able to provide a nurturing framework for same-sex couples to come out with confidence, they are going to feel a little stigmatized, isn't it?
And more than
Absolutely.
a couple, like as an individual, it puts a lot of stress on you as well. Like, till the time I came out to my mom, I was continuously in this fear that, okay, if I come out, what if they just disown me? Like, and there are so
Yeah.
many examples of people getting disowned and their parents stopping. Like, touch wood, like my mom was pretty sure, like, okay about it. She just thinks it's a phase. But that's a lot of, like, it's a big thing for me, because even though she's in denial, she's not, like, taking extreme steps like other people's did. And that single thing, like, just coming out to a person who I really care for, that got me, like, the pressure that was on me, it was just lifted. And that just,
Correct. Yeah.
individually helped me grow as a person in my field, regard, like, just eliminating that one factor that, okay, I am not straight. But now that the, like, the elephant is out of the room, I can focus on being a better person itself.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I think family acceptance is probably the best kind of acceptance a person can get. Once that is done with and you're comfortable with that, then it's easier, little easier to face the world.
Because
There
the
is a
people,
yeah,
the people you're closest to, if they accept you,
yeah,
probably you don't care what the world feels or thinks.
absolutely.
Because then you get that added strength. Ki, at least I don't have to fight at home for this to be normalized. They are okay,
Right.
so I don't care what the world thinks.
That's right.
Can I add something to that?
Please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Uh, this acceptance is a tricky word in the sense that I know many gay couples where their parents have individually accepted their child's sexuality
Yeah.
completely, but are uncomfortable with their relationship. Because as long as my child is gay, I accept him at a certain theoretical level that he is, his sexual orientation is gay and he would be sexually interested in men and would want to settle down with a man. But when it comes to actually being seen together, being accepted as a couple, parents, I don't blame them. They come from a totally different generation. There may be issues of acceptance of a relationship, but not an acceptance of as an individual. So that also is a sort of a different kind of stigma, that I'm accepted partially but my partner is not accepted, or the explicit understanding that that we are in a sexual relationship with each other is something parents could find very difficult to accept, and that is something I've seen quite often.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. There is some message over here also that masculinity mixed with patriarchy leads to more gay men being more closeted than lesbians. Any comment on that immediately?
Sorry,
Dr.
can you
Panchali?
please repeat that?
Yeah, there is a message. Masculinity mixed with patriarchy leads to more gay men being closeted than lesbians. Because now we are going to talk about the differences in gay and lesbian relationships. So I thought this was a relevant question.
I will find it difficult. I am unable to answer this question because statistically the number of gay men is around 3%, and about the lesbians is around 1 to 1.5%.
Okay.
Now, these are general statistics. We have no survey in India. A. B. We do not really know the number of people who are actually gay and lesbians. So we really cannot compare one with the other to really know what is the percentage of people who are actually out. But if you
Yeah.
look at it numerically, I totally do not agree with what has been suggested, because I have far more gay men coming out, at least in those close quarters, than lesbians. But again, my experience is cannot be generalized. That is my personal experience. I think it would be very difficult to make that statement or the other statement the other way around, because we do not have sufficient data. That would be my opinion.
Yeah.
Sir,
Whatever.
would you like?
No,
Yeah.
I think what you say is right, Mr. Kire, is because we don't have data. We can't comment exactly what the situation is here in India. So yes, I think you are right.
So, one thing that
Um,
I have noticed is when I was working in Teach for India, there were a lot of kids that I was working with. And
Right.
just because the person wants to express their emotions, they were pointed and they were like, you are gay. And then that is somewhere where the kids started like, okay, I am not gonna accept, even if I am gay, I won't accept because this is looked up as in like, something which is wrong and something that,
Correct.
only gay people do certain things. Like, for example, Harry Style, dressing up in a girlish outfit is it's a choice, right? But it doesn't have to like define you as a gay person, or showing emotion that doesn't define you as a gay person. But then like I guess in our schools, because there is a lack of sex education, these terms are used in a like in a slang way, like oh my god, I'm not gay, or like it's the effort, it's like equally used like an effort. And then people just like tend to be like, okay, I am not gonna come out because the stigma and the kind of bullying that they will like face. So I guess that's where the leader was saying.
Right. Another thing that seems to regularly, come up in research as well as amongst people within the community and in society at large is that is monogamy the rule, or is it different with same-sex couples, or is it similar as heteronormative couples? Is it different? So this is something that is regularly being asked. Uh, so anything that Bhagyashree, would you like to say
Yeah,
something?
in my personal opinion, it's an individual's choice. Like, it's regardless of
Perfect.
being
Yeah.
LGBTQ plus or straight. It's your choice if you want to be monogamous or open, or again, like, depends on an individual.
Right. So, is there a is there any kind of difference between gay and lesbian couples also, where monogamy is concerned? Um Dr. Panchanadika, would you like to?
Uh, Honest answer is I don't know because I haven't seen any difference. Because I might sound like a broken record, but I don't see any difference there between same-sex relations and sort of straight
Monogamy.
relationship, monogamy or straight
Yeah.
relationships, because I don't see why it should matter. As it was said that it is a personal choice. So if I am happy in being a monogamous relationship, so be it. But if I'm not, and if I opt for an open relation, if it is fine
Hmm.
with both the parties involved in the relationship, why not? So
Right. For example, in the US, so many states have legalized same-sex marriages. So, do you think, Mr. Kire, that over there probably monogamy is, going to be a norm? Like, I mean, it's expected like in any other closed marriage over here in India. Do you think that will become an issue over there, over here as well, when same-sex marriages, whenever they are legalized?
Well, the issue of same-sex marriage, the community is, I could say definitely that in India, the community is split in two parts. Some of them who do advocate rights of marriage, and some of them who believe that marriage itself is a patriarchal construct and is
Ah,
not needed. So,
absolutely.
so my understanding is that since it is a contract between people, it could be between two or more, but I do believe that legalization of gay marriage is essential for those obviously who see the benefits of it and who want it. So I am all for fighting for gay marriage, and if the issue word marriage sounds religious or has religious connotations, I am willing to settle for something like civil union or civil partnership, as long as we get all the legal uh, rights that are associated with that relationship. So yes, in India too we have open relationship, monogamous relationship, but generally it is seen because of history that people tend to celebrate or encourage monogamous relationship. So now it could work for some people, it could not work for some people, but it is true that generally marriages all over the world, when we talk of marriage, it means two people only. Now the only issue is what are the whether it's a straight marriage or a gay marriage, but that issue has always been there in India, and there are, I know quite a few gay men and lesbians also who do not believe in this construct. In fact, they are not even willing to openly support my demand for legalizing gay marriage because they do not
O-
feel that they feel it's actually supporting a patriarchal construct, so they are
Okay.
anti. So yes, so there
I,
are divisions there.
I would see them more as anti-marriage than the same-sex marriage because
Yeah,
I do meet
yeah.
a
Yes.
lot of,
The
I
whole
do see a
concept is
lot,
something.
yeah, I nowadays see a lot of young people who have been in a relationship in a conventional sense, but very openly say that they don't want to get married because they don't like the word marriage. They say that we are happy the way things are and we will stay happy this way, but we don't want to get married to each other. And I think
Right.
that's pretty valid.
But can I add to that?
Yes, Mr.
Yes.
Kiri. Also, if you could highlight some legal aspects, because I think it's very important for couples to know that.
That's what I was actually coming to, that the
Yeah,
younger generation does seem to have something against the word marriage or some kind of legal commitment where they
Correct.
are bound by certain duties and responsibilities. I do think that at least to some extent they do not, in their young age, they do not realize why that legal recognition is needed. They do not realize what could happen in eventualities where someone becomes disabled or one of the partner dies, whether it comes to inheritance, whether it comes to adoption issues, whether it could be joint accounts, insurance. So the legalities are not really discussed. Yes, they could have a partnership contract as to distribution of expenses and have a will to decide what goes to whom, yeah, and all of that. But they really do not have a clear idea as to what it actually. I should go a little bit before that. They actually do not really have a clear idea of what it means to be in a relationship too. Which is why I think one of the things that they
Yeah.
should go in for is a pre-partnership counseling, because
Yes.
most of the time they are in love, not really thinking about practical aspects of challenges and the compromises they have to make. So that is one part, but the legal part is that even in India, live-in relationship is recognized only to some extent for between a man and a woman. Although we use the word casually, live-in, we are in a relationship without two men or two women. Legally, it is not considered to be a live-in relationship, even if you have been together for 10 years in a monogamous relationship.
Okay.
In fact, the government has submitted an affidavit in the Delhi High Court in the gay marriage case, where they do not consider live-in relationships as between two men or two women as a live-in relation. They have made it very clear that live-in relationship applies only to a sexual relationship between a man and a woman. Any other kind of relationship, however long, is simply, to put in my word, it's they're simply a long one night stand, or every day a new one night stand. In totality, for the government, it means nothing.
Okay.
No law in India defines the word live-in relationship. Even the DV Act, Protection of Women Against Domestic Violence Act 2005, defines uses the word a relationship in the nature of marriage, which means when the Domestic Violence Act gives protection to live-in relations, it is also mapped on the definition of marriage. And because it says the words in the relationship of marriage and marriage, excuse me, and marriage is between only between a man and woman, it follows that a relationship in nature of marriage also should be between a man and a woman. So basically, gay couples have no recourse at all to any living relationship, civil or any other benefits of maintenance or right to reside in a property, which means we after before during 377 we had a negative law which criminalized us. Now that has gone away, so we are at zero. But there is not a single affirmative law in place which recognizes or gives any kind of protection to same-sex couples. That is a big fat zero.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. In fact, I was just seeing some research by Dr. Gottman, who is really into marital therapy and counseling. So what he says is that legalization of marriage is very important because in the same-sex couples, because not only will it give legal and financial rights over each other's property and so many other issues, but it will also take off the societal stigma and what 377 has done to some extent. Once it is legalized, our society tends to accept people more easily, and if they are accepted more easily, mental health issues also will decrease to a large extent. So I mean, that's a choice whether to get married or not, but whoever would like to can definitely get married once it is
Yeah.
legalized.
The law has to give out a clear signal that these relationships are as good or as bad as straight relationships,
Yeah.
Yeah, the
and that is
ambiguity
a
is
very
there.
important. That is a very important signal because it sort of puts everybody on par. You might
Absolutely.
have
Correct. Yeah.
views and differences on it, but at least the Special Marriage Act should treat everyone on par so that the rights are given on par, and there's a strong signal that goes out that all relationships for us are equal, if not in the eyes of the Lord, at least in the eyes of the Constitution.
Yeah.
Yes, amazing. Where therapy is concerned, or mental health issues, or marital counseling, or same-sex counseling is concerned, Dr. Panchanadikar, anything that do you think we should add on as young therapists, I think, are especially going to get a lot of people who will come to them for same-sex counseling as well, which is not the norm as yet, but it's going to happen. So any tips
I
for
think,
them, any
yeah,
specific guidelines?
I think what is important here is first to be aware, as I first said at the outset, as to what relationships are and what problems can arise in any relationship, may it be same sex or heterosexual. So, first, have to be aware of what problems can arise in any relationship. And once we are aware of the problem that could arise, as Mr. Khire had touched upon, is then there are some specific challenges that people in same-sex relationships face. So first being aware of what problems can arise, and then, and I hate to use the word special population, it's not a special population, it's a normal population like everyone else, but then be aware of what the problems could be in same-sex relationship would be a good beginning. But I think being aware of the red flags that can arise as to when do we know or when do we understand that a relationship is kind of on the rocks or going bad is when there starts a controlling behavior or kind of an attempt to change each other. I think it's time to think that the relationship needs some inputs, or there is no respect for each other, there is lack of time, there is a lot of inequality and a lot of negativity within the relationship. So when we start seeing that, even in the same sex relationship, I think we do need to recognize that it's a problem and then it has to be dealt. So first understand what normal is, then what the
Apply
deviation
the
or
same. Yeah.
away from normacy is, and then being aware of what problems or the specific issues could be in same-sex relation would be the key to a successful therapy, a marital therapy there.
So,
Yeah,
I would like
absolutely.
to
I
add
think.
on a point
Yeah,
to
Yes,
that.
Bhagesh.
please,
So,
Bhagyasri. Yeah.
instead of looking at, for example, me and my best friend, we both got out of a relationship at the same time. And surprisingly, we both were facing literally the same issues. She was with a guy, I was with a girl, and both of us got cheated on. So there was, the emotions that I felt, the things that we both went through, it was the same thing. So, saying ki, like, okay, this is a special population, and yeah, we need to understand a little more about the social construct part. But at the end of the day, I guess emotions is something that everyone feels almost in a certain, same way.
Perfect.
And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I was in a relationship which went on for like 3 years. That can happen in a straight relationship as well as in a LGBTQ plus relationship. And then there was this toxic person that I was with, and that can happen in a straight relationship and a LGBTQ plus relationship. So I guess looking, maybe I will sound a little philosophical, but maybe looking at people as just a blob which is associated with another block will help a psychologist to understand a person better, instead of being, okay, this is an LGBTQ plus case, and okay, I need to consider, I need to be more, politer. We are just humans, and we need the same treatment that straight people are getting, because we face the same issues.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
think,
amazing, Bhagyasri.
yeah,
You put it
I
so well.
think
I think
bereavement is
we
the
need to
same
get
no
rid of
matter
our,
what you are. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. We need to get rid of our biases, our, stigma probably. And even if we feel we have no biases, probably there's a lot of unlearning that as therapists we need to do. And be sensitive to the issue in the sense that I think we need to educate ourselves much, much more about relationships in general and get rid of that bias. That will help us a lot to deal with all kinds of relationships.
And just to
Right.
add,
I think,
sorry, just to add something,
yes, yes.
before educating ourselves, I would say that let's, as therapists, as professionals, let's be open to new
Hmm.
experiences or new
Yes,
problems that come to us. Because
that's true.
I see a lot of therapists, psychologists, and psychiatrists who say that they don't deal with people from LGBTQ community. It's the same
Hmm.
problems that everyone has, and at least be open to whatever your client is bringing to you, so that who knows,
Hmm.
maybe you
Hmm.
will end up learning more through the process than maybe you are able to give. And that is a very
That's
big
true.
plus for a young therapist or even the old ones like me. So,
Absolutely. Right. I think we can throw it open for questions now.
yes, please.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So please write down your questions and send them to us. I'm sure there are a lot of things that people would like to ask.
Ma'am, there are a few questions. Maybe you can just scroll up. There are a few questions asked.
Acha, okay, 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 nice, yeah. Uh, yeah, there's one. Yes, I can see a lot of men not being gay but effeminate but mocked as being gay. I see no difference. Yeah, a lot of comments actually. I can't read the questions. Can you, Bhagyashri? I can't.
Yeah, the last question is for the first time. No. Does this discussion take place in courts, and why isn't the government and the SC understanding these points? So like there are
Hmm.
people being vocal, and like we are doing the marches and all that, but why isn't like why are we not able to reach the government?
Right.
I
Mr.
think
Khire, would you like to take up this?
Well, the fact is that if you look the world over, LGBT rights movement has always been a huge challenge. It challenges patriarchal constructs, it challenges religions, religious constructs. So basically, it challenges the foundations of the way the society has grown. So in fact, I would say that relatively the LGBT rights movement has achieved much success in the past 3 to 4 decades in the US, Europe, and even now in India. We have been able to get rid of the colonial law in a battle which lasted what 15 16 years from 2001 to 2018. We were able to get rid of a law which is almost everywhere in Asia barring in Nepal. Right now there are petitions challenging the Hindu Marriage Act 1955, Special Marriage Act 1954, the Foreign Marriage Act in Kerala and Delhi High Courts. So these matters are already sub judice. Now, it is true that the government, after the Nalsa judgment, has enacted the law, the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act, and the government has given certain right to transgenders. In fact, because of that, transgenders are now able to marry also, unlike same-sex relationships, because a trans woman marrying a man is considered to be a heterosexual relationship, or vice versa. So the issue is that in none of these battles, the governments have been very pro. Very frankly, it does not matter whether the government is right wing or left wing or a coalition of parties. Even in the 377 fight, when it started in 2001, till the Delhi High Court victory in 2009, we did not have a single party supporting us. Sorry, I correct myself. It was the CPIM who had supported us, no one else.
okay.
It was after the High Court judgment that things slowly started changing. But post 2013 setback, it was then that the Congress parties openly stated that they are unhappy with this judgment. CPIM said they are unhappy with the judgment. NCP did not give any comment at all. Many of the North Indian smaller parties were SP, BSP, were not supportive of the reading down of 377. So people have this perception that it is only the right wing versus left wing, and the left wing or the socialist wing is very pro and the right wing is against. And if we are not seeing laws which are conducive or inclusive, it is because there is a right wing government in power. That is not strictly true.
Yeah.
Most parties, even today, are not pro gay marriage because it after this lockdown phase one, when we were planning to have our pride march in Pune in June, we had to cancel it because of this wave 2. But we approached political parties stating that we are going to felicitate one representative from each party who supports our stand of legalizing gay marriage, supports the fact that at least the Special Marriage Act, you should support it if religion is an issue. other than the CPIM
Nobody came forward.
and the Vanchit Bahubali Aghadi, Dr. Prakash Ambedkar's party, no one has given us assurance that we are in support of gay marriage. This includes socialist parties also. So it is very important to understand that whatever government is in power, most of our victories are going to be through our battles in courts, high courts and supreme courts. It is very less likely that in the next 25 years we are going to get any serious victories in the parliament.
I think
Going to
that
be a
will.
long struggle.
I think that brings us to one question that is currently in front of my screen is in order to normalize same-sex relationships, someone has asked whether the social awareness needs to change or is it the legal rights to these couples? And the same person has commented that it's both, of course, because they should go hand in hand. But which one would create a larger impact? And it's my very personal opinion is I think the social awareness is the first thing that needs to change because in our country, our so-called, sorry, wrong words, in our democratic country, I'm not going to say so-called democratic country, in our democratic country, having laws means not a lot. It doesn't have a lot of impact unless there is social awareness. And the simple example that springs to my mind is in this COVID pandemic, there is a law that everyone who is outdoor has to wear a mask. And hands up to sort of those who don't wear a mask, even if there is, even when there is a law. So we have a lot of good laws, we simply don't follow them because there's no social awareness. So I think the social awareness needs to come first, or maybe hand in hand with the law, but social awareness will have a larger impact when it comes to same-sex relationships than having just a law which is not implemented at all. And I don't know what your thoughts are on this, Mr. Khire.
Um, I would like one thing, to
Please,
add on.
Bhagyashree.
So
Yeah,
basically, as an individual, when I was in school, I never knew कि, LGBTQ even existed. And
yeah,
throughout 10 years of my life, I spent in this confused mode where I didn't like guys. I didn't I didn't like the way I felt for girls. And then I was sort of thrown away from male groups and all that. And then it just was very overwhelming for me. So maybe starting from there, normalizing LGBTQ existence as a kid would have made it so much easier for me to accept myself. And when it comes to if I'm not able to accept myself, if I'm starting there, how am I supposed to accept someone else? So maybe these people who are making these laws, they are not able to accept someone else because it's easier to deny someone else right, or be like, okay, you don't exist. But it starts from within, and maybe it starts as early as school days, wherein you at least know these things exist and these things are very normal.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there are one or two more questions. One is that people who are even doing very well at the workplace, they are bullied sometimes. So what can we do about it? And there is another question about are there any trained counselors or therapists for same-sex couples? So no, there are no specifically trained therapists, at least in our country, for same-sex couples. But definitely you can approach any clinical psychologist or any good psychotherapist and of course all psychiatrists for therapy for same-sex couples. So like Dr. Panchaladikar has stated that it is the same kind of therapy that we would do with any other relationship.
Correct.
So there is no difference really. It's in the mind that therapists also have to educate themselves and broaden their minds to include all kinds of issues and all kinds of relationships. So that should not be an issue.
Agreed. Yeah.
But what about bullying at the workplace? How can we reduce it? Any thoughts on that? I think that's one of the last questions we'll take because we are short of time now.
Well, the fact remains that every company with 10 or more employees, company organizations have an internal complaints committee. It is mandatory to have that. Now, it is basically meant for protection of harassment for women employees. But more and more companies are going for a more inclusive policy of zero tolerance of harassment, especially sexual harassment at workplace. But what needs to be done is that even if it's a gay man or a feminine straight man or anyone who feels bullied because of his sexuality, gender, or perceived sexuality and gender, should, irrespective of whether the scope of the IC Internal Complaints Committee covers same-sex, covers harassment of LGBT, they should give a complaint in writing.
Yes.
Whenever such complaints to me, I do tell them that the fact remains that any reputed company would, although they might not have this policy covered, they will definitely take it seriously, because no company worth its reputation would want to stake its reputation by having such a harassment go unnoticed or
Absolutely.
unaddressed. So they need to raise the issue and make clear that such an issue will not be at any level be tolerated. And I'm sure that things do improve, because I have examples where the employee has reported on my suggestion to the company, and the company has talked to him, and all the employees who had some biases have an LGBTQ sensitization session, talking to me to see what could be done to make the environment more LGBT friendly. So this can happen. It may not happen always, but the fact is that a written complaint to be sent to the IC is the first step. Sadly, many of them who do not want to really go through this process.
Yeah.
That's true. I think,
Maybe
yes, Bhageshri.
the fact that my sexuality or my sexual orientation or the way I dress up or for example, my pink hair is not going to change my quality of work. And it's not going to affect how I represent myself at work, how I work, my quality of work. That's not going to get affected by my hair color or who I love or my private life. So that thing that should be normalized is my personal life and my social life, my work life, two different things. Though we are the same, it's not gonna affect each other.
Perfect.
Right.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think the more and more we normalize it, the lesser and lesser there will be a need to identify with a particular community or a particular group of people. It will be very inclusive, and that will be great.
Yeah.
I think that most people who have been bullied or stigmatized from their childhood, and sexuality is so basic. I mean, it's the first thing you realize about yourself while growing up. So the self-esteem takes a hit very badly, and therefore sometimes there is a possibility of being bullied and you not being able to stand up for your rights as well. So these things are definitely things that we will have to address at an individual level, not so much at a relationship level as such. But this is something that I would like to say. I think anybody else who would like to say something, otherwise we would end the session.
I think this is
Okay.
just a beginning to sensitize people
Absolutely.
even to think about same-sex relationships. Because I don't think this discussion was intended at anything specific.
Right.
It
Absolutely.
is just an initial, very early talk to tell people that yes, these things are being taken seriously. It's okay to talk about these issues, and there are people and there is community which will understand you. So even if we are able to give that message to people, I think we would have achieved our goal today.
Absolutely. So I would request all the participants to give us your feedback and also tell us what else you would want to know. We have very esteemed panelists here, and Bhageshri has been really, I think, very nice to come here and share her experiences with us. So I thank all of you all for being
What
here.
we, like,
And
people like you who
Yeah.
create forums and places wherein people like me feel comfortable. Like I'm not out to everyone, but then you made a space which is comfortable for me to talk and open up, and that's I guess what everyone needs, like a comfort zone, a place wherein they can come and talk. So yeah, thank you so much for having me over.
Right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank
We'll
you.
stop for
Thank
today.
you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kiret.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank
Dr.
you all.
Panchmalika. Thanks,
Thank
Bhagyashree.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.